Today I'm going to show you how to solve one-step equations. The first thing you do is you're going to split the equation at the equal sign. The equation is like a balance. You're trying to find what x is equal to. So in order to do that, we're going to do the inverse operation of minus 7. So we are going to add 7 on both sides. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So negative 7 and positive 7 cancel out. So we're just left with x on the left-hand side. That's our goal, is to isolate x, to get the variable by itself. And then negative 6 plus 7 is positive 1. We should always check, is 1 minus 7, does that equal negative 6? If it does, then we are doing great. Let's try another one. Split the equation at the equal sign. We are going to subtract 3.4 from both sides. So on the left side, we're left with just y equals. Now the other side, we have 0.5 minus 3.4. So I know that my answer is going to be negative because there's more negatives. So I'm just going to write it over here, 3.4, and I know I'm going to subtract 0.5 from that. So I'm left with negative 2.9. And then once again, I should always check. Is 2.9 plus 3.4, sorry, negative 2.9 plus 3.4, does that equal 0.5? If it does, and we would subtract, and it absolutely does. We're checked. Okay, for this one, we have h plus 2 times pi equals 3 pi. Our goal is still to get the variable by itself. The variable in this example is h. So I'm going to split the equation by the equal sign. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to subtract 2 pi. Subtract 2 pi. So positive 2 pi minus 2 pi cancels out, so I'm left with h on the left side. Equals 3 pi minus 2 pi is just 1 pi. So once again, we want to double check ourselves. Put pi in for h. So does pi plus 2 pi equal 3 pi? Yes, it does. Remember, if I don't see a coefficient, I could put a 1 there. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and I would have 3 pi. Here's another one. Split at the equal sign. We want to get r by itself. So if you want to put 1s here, you can. So now I'm going to do plus 1 pi. What you do one side, you do to the other, plus 1 pi. So the left side cancels out. Negative 1 pi plus 1 pi cancels out. So I'm left with r on the left side. And then I have 1 pi plus 1 pi, which is 2 pi. So 2 pi is r, so let's test it. So 2 pi minus 1 pi, that equals 1 pi. So we're all checked out. Here's another one with fractions. Don't get thrown off because you see fractions. Doing the same thing. The opposite of minus 1/4 is plus 1/4. Okay, when I add or subtract, I want to make sure that I have common denominators, and I do. So the left side, I'm left with t equals negative 3/4 plus 1/4. So my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. So it's negative 2/4, which simplifies to negative 1/2. So t equals negative 1/2. So is negative 1/2 minus 1/4, does that equal negative 3/4? So when we have a negative 1/2 minus 1/4, remember I'm adding them to make sure that they equal 3/4. But I have negative 1/2, which you know is 2/4. So negative 2/4 minus 1/4 does equal negative 3/4. Let's try this one. Okay, it's just switched around a little bit. Still, we're trying to get the variable by itself. So the opposite of positive 5.6 is minus 5.6. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So that cancels out. So z is going to equal, now this one I have the same signs, so I'm just going to add them and keep the sign. So 0 plus 6 is 6, 8 plus 5 is 13, and I'm going to keep the negative sign. So z equals negative 13.6. So once again, 5.6 plus negative 13.6, does that equal negative 8? Signs are different, so you would subtract, and there's more negatives. So you end up with a negative 8. In this example here, you have negative 3/4 times n equals negative 2. So in order to get the variable by itself, we are going to divide by negative 3/4, which is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by negative 4/3. So look what happens. A negative times a negative is a positive, so I'm left with positive n. My 3's cancel out, and my 4's cancel out. What you do to one side, you have to do the other. So negative 2 I could put over 1 times negative 4/3. So negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8/3. So we can leave it 8/3, or we could change it to a mixed number. 3 goes into 8 2 times with 2 left over. So you can say it's 8/3 or 2n 2/3. And once again, you can test it. Negative 3/4 times 2 and 2/3, that should equal negative 2. Okay, this one here, you're doing the same thing. You're going to get x by itself. In order to get x by itself, we're going to divide by pi. Divide by pi. So the pi's divided by pi is 1 pi. So I'm left with, the pi's would cancel out, so I'm just left with x. 3 pi divided by pi, the pi's would cancel out, so I'm left with 3. So x equals 3. So if we plug it in, pi times 3, does that equal 3 pi? Yes, it does. Okay, the melting point of a solid is the temperature at which the solid becomes a liquid. The melting point of bromine is 1/30th of the melting point of nitrogen. Write and solve an equation to find the melting point of nitrogen. Well, I can see down here it says the melting point of bromine is negative 7 degrees Celsius. Of means to multiply. So I could set up my equation as 1/30th times n, because we don't know the melting point of nitrogen. 1/3 times n equals the melting point of bromine, which is negative 7. And then from there, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So times 30 over 1 times 30 over 1. So that on this side, you're going to be left with n. And negative 7 times 30 is negative 210. So the melting point of nitrogen is negative 210 degrees Celsius. I hope this helped you understand solving one-step equations. Have a great day.